Welcome to the Year 8 strategy for within or between. In this lesson I'm learning to identify whether a question requires me to use the Year 8 within strategy or the Year 8 between strategy. Let's start with this question. Let's imagine I can paint 4 fences in 12 days, so I want to work out how long it will take me to paint 40 fences. And obviously all those fences are the same length. So I'm going to start by drawing my double number line. And on my top, on top of the number line, I'm going to put the number of fences. And down below that, I'm going to put the number of days. And I'm going to start by putting all the information on that I know. Well, I know that I can do 4 fences in 12 days. And I'm going to try to work out how long it will take me to do 40 fences. So I'm putting a little question mark down here. So to start with, I'm going to try to use the within strategy to answer this question. So I know that I'm trying to having to go from here down to here, which means I'm looking for a relationship between these two numbers in that direction. And I can see that 12 is 3 times bigger than 4, so I could say 4 times 3 equals 12. So I'm going to have to do the same over here. 40 times 3 equals 120. Let's just see what this question would have looked like if I tried to use the between strategy. Well, you can see down here I've got all the same information written out, except now instead of looking for a relationship between these two numbers, I'm looking for a relationship between these two numbers. Well, I can see that 40 is 10 times bigger than 4, so I could say 4 times 10 equals 40, which means this number here is also going to have to be 10 times bigger. So I'm going to draw another arrow and times 12 by 10. And I know that 10 times 12 is 120. So if I go back up a little bit, you can see we got the same answer using either strategy. And you may have a preference for one of these strategies, but both of the strategies have worked really well. Let's try another question now where one of the strategies is definitely better than the other one. Let's imagine I could feed 6 dogs with 4 bags of dog food every month. Well, I want to imagine how many dogs could I feed if I had 12 bags of dog food. So you can see I've set the problem out like this. I've got my bags and I've got my dogs. And I've already put on all the information that I know. So to start with, I'm going to try and use my between method to answer this question. So I'm going to be looking to head in this direction. So I start by trying to identify a relationship between these two numbers. Well, I know that 12 is 3 times bigger than 4, so I can say 4 times 3. So I know this number here needs to be 3 times bigger than 6. So 6 times 3 equals 18. So if I can feed 6 dogs with 4 bags of dog food, I should be able to feed 18 dogs with 12 bags. Now let's see what this looks like using the within method. You can see I've still got all the information written out. And you can see because I'm using the within method, I'm going to be heading in this direction. So this time I'm trying to look for a pattern or relationship between these two numbers. And you can see straight away that I'm not going to be able to multiply 4 by a whole number to make 6. So this strategy here is already looking a little bit more complicated. Now because I know that 4 times 1 is 4 and 4 times 2 is 8, I know that I'm actually going to have to multiply 4 by 1.5 or 1.5 to get to 6. So that means when I come over to this side, I'm going to have to multiply 12 by 1.5. And again, you can see that this is much harder than what we were doing in the between strategy. Now I know that 12 times 1 is 12 and 12 times 2 is 24, so 12 times 1.5 must be halfway in between, so it must be 18. So if I go back up a little bit, you can see we got the same answer in both of these questions, but when we used the between method, we only had to deal with whole numbers, which was easier. So let's think about the important things to remember in this lesson. Well, just like when we did the two strategies separately, your first step is to set all the information out on a double number line. Your next step is trying to identify a relationship between the numbers. So in this example here, we used the between method, and that showed us a good relationship. In this method, we used the within relationship. It still worked, but it was a little bit trickier. And normally you will find that one of the methods is a little bit better than the other. You can find the activity sheet that goes with this lesson in the Teacher Tools Fractions, Decimals and Percentages book from the Whitebook collection.